Ugh, just when I thought today couldn't get any worse. Feeling lucky? I win either way. Huh? That wasn't supposed to happen.
Can you hear me? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm back. I'm ready to continue.
Good. Now that you've begun conditioning, let's return to 2070. After Coalescence collapsed. You were trapped in Singapore.
With quarantine zones unlocked all over the world, we couldn't raise WA command. If we were going to escape, we had to improvise. We turned to the 54 Immortals. They were dangerous and unpredictable, but they were no enemy of ours.
Hendricks trusted them?
What choice did we have? If we wanted out of Singapore, we had to go through the biodomes. We had to go through the Immortals. Getting in was easy. Getting out would be another matter entirely. At the time, the biodomes were the safest place to be. With the outbreak of 2060, the Immortals seized the marina and dug in. The biodomes were impenetrable. Dead-proof. Hendricks had a contact, Danny Lee. He was slimy as they come, but he could get us transport. Not only that, Taylor had beaten us out of the biodomes, and Danny claimed to know where he was heading.
They had this information.
Danny was convinced Gojulan had info on her central server. They were doing us a solid, really. But that didn't come cheap. They wanted food, water, weapons, reinforcements from the Winslow Accord. We agreed to their terms, with no idea if we could honor it. The Immortals were a people of their word, and quite efficient in punishing those who did not act the same. Danny was in a bad mood. The Immortals weren't exactly happy to see us. They knew our part in what had happened in Coalescence. Danny went so far as to accuse us of opening the containment zones ourselves. Hendricks persuaded him otherwise. But that didn't change how I felt. We were there. We had our chance to stop Diaz in the server room.
You cannot blame yourself for what is out of your control. There were powers in play far greater than your own. Powers with far more control. You were a pawn in his game.
You mean Deimos? Well, as it turns out, we weren't his only pawns in the room.
How do you mean?
You can get us a ride out? Sure, I'll give you that. But claiming to know where Taylor was? Know that saying, too good to be true? Something was wrong. There was something malevolent, malicious. I called Danny out. I wasn't too happy with that. But then again, we assumed he was just scared. The outbreak now occurring worldwide was unprecedented. We were all scared. Up till now, we'd become complacent. We got comfortable. The dead had stayed in their cage, and we kept pretending nothing had happened. Taylor and Diaz changed that. Pandemonium, riots, civil war, countries were already tearing themselves apart, in many cases before the dead even reached them. Danny wasn't scared. He was stalling. And it only took us another moment to find out why.
The Go siblings. Danny set you up.
No. This was different. It was their eyes. Hollow. Empty. Void of life. Like they could see right through me. They all had it. Just like Diaz. It was only later we found out all higher-ups in the Immortals were outfitted with D&I. Like us. If only we'd known the part our own technology would play. The thing about dead killers, though, there's always a plan B. We had a robot squad in place, ready if the situation took a turn. Gojulan bolted before our robots got her. She was headed for the server room in Cloud Mountain, the only place we could put in the call from transport. It became quickly apparent that uninvited guests had joined the party in the biodomes. The dead were flooding into this safe haven. It was about to become hell on Earth. We had to move. We had to get to Cloud Mountain. I don't know how the undead got in. A forgotten open gate. A child's mistake. A poorly nailed board over a window. It didn't matter. It was spreading fast. We were already outnumbered 20 to 1. The remaining humans scrambling away, locked in their homes. heard that familiar screech. Parasites, mutated creatures born out of 6115 were flying towards us. With the shipping yard cleared, Cloud Mountain was just ahead, the server room at the top. We had a long climb ahead of us.
What happened in the server room?
By the time we got there, Gojulan encrypted her hardware, locking us out of the central server. Hendricks stepped in, but we were a few seconds too late. Damage was done.
Why did she lock you out?
It didn't make any sense. Sure, we weren't on the best of terms, but this wasn't her. Something else made her do it. Something was controlling her. The encryption used a biometric hand scan. Hendricks tried to unlock it. But the Go siblings were smart. They'd set up an access system requiring both of their hands for authorization. And her brother was shredded with bullets back in the bar. We could hear the horde coming, and we only had one sibling. But she did have two hands.
You chose to cut off her hand. Why?
I hoped the biometrics were interchangeable, allowing the siblings to use either reader. If we were calling transport and getting out alive, it had to work. Lucky for us, it did. Hendricks interfaced with the system. He was able to raise WA command. We needed a ride out ASAP. They had a VTOL a few minutes out. Rendezvous was set for the top of the dome. But Hendricks wanted to know what Gojulan had on Taylor. Anything, even the smallest detail, could be helpful in picking up his trail. That would take some time. And time was something we didn't have. Hendricks searched the archives. I dealt with the incoming horde. Hendricks had pulled all the data he could. I hoped it was enough. Our pickup was in position. It's time to get the hell out of here. Our bird wasn't alone in the sky. Our VTOL had caught the attention of an old automated race. We needed to find another way.
This wraith telling you. It was like the malfunctioning robots you found in different quarantine zones. The kind targeting anything and everything as an enemy.
Just like that. Except on a much larger, more deadly scale. And this one was very interested in us. Command had an exit route. Extraction set beyond the swamps. If we crossed the super trees, there were shipping docks. Between the flesh eaters and that wraith eyeing us, the super trees would be no walk in the park. We had to haul ass and stay out of sight. But they weren't our only concern. Winslow Accord picked up chatter ahead. Apparently, we weren't the only humans using the docks to escape. The super tree was collapsing. The only safe route to the docks was up. Chatter confirmed that 54 immortals were scrambling to get out of the biodomes through the swamps. sound of it, they wanted us dead as much as the flesh eaters did. Looked like we were jumping from one bad situation into another. From the sound of it, they wanted us dead as much as the flesh eaters did. Looked like we were jumping from one bad situation into another. Hendricks commandeered an airboat and set the autopilot. We had undead on our ass, and more 54I ahead. And that rogue Wraith wasn't done with us yet. Our exfil was just ahead. We were getting out of Singapore.
What about Taylor? What did Hendricks learn from the server?
Nothing. We did them white. Taylor was in the wind. And the virus, 6115, wouldn't stop this time. The Winslow Accord and CDP had been thrown into chaos. We'd lost Hong Kong, Berlin, and Cairo. And it was just getting started. What would come next? How the world would change? There was no way to be ready for that. "5 years. 5 long, dark years. Opening the quarantine zones did exactly as we feared. And by 2075, what was a contained situation gave way to anarchy. Humanity's numbers had been reduced to a few hundred mil scattered across the globe. The undead had risen to 7 billion. Taylor was in the wind. A faded reminder of our inability to stop Armageddon. There was still a Winslow Accord kill-on-sight ordinance in place, but he was a distant memory, until the aquifers. We were on a routine bombing run outside Cairo. Our orders were to bomb the dead into the next life. Our target was a Catardus colony. They'd taken over a refinery. It was a well-armed facility protecting them and the dead they worshipped. Top priority was to cut off their comms and leave them in the dark. But first, we had to clear out their defenses. This was a routine sweep. Every time another sympathizer colony sprouted up, we'd squash it back down. As far as we were concerned, we were doing the world a favor. We moved on the array, but the undead sympathizers weren't going down without a fight. Support detail needed a few moments to disable the array. Lucky for me, I had more hostiles to keep me occupied. Disabling the comms would take some time. Our support detail dealt with that. I dealt with reinforcements. station disabled, we had to get back to our bird. The array was ahead. Bring it down, we'd be one step closer to eradicating this colony. With the comms disabled, we needed to get back in the air. With their comms jammed, the next step was to breach the control room to take back the facility. There was access ahead. I just needed to get through the flooded room in front of me. Our support detail insisted on coming with.
When you were swimming, something went wrong.
Our D&I. There was a malfunction.
What did you see?
I saw... I was drowning. I thought I heard...
This is not your time. Get back up. Do not trust him. Everything is not what it seems.
What did you hear?
Nothing. I couldn't make it out.
Get up.
Then I woke up. Someone pulled me out of the water. Someone saved me.
Saved you.
A guardian angel. Someone watching over me. My support detail. She got through somehow and pulled me out. She brought me back from the brink. She said it wasn't my time. My work wasn't done. I had to stop Taylor. I don't know how she knew. It didn't make any sense.
Did you know her? This woman?
No. I'd never worked with her before today.
And yet she knew about Taylor. She knew about what happened. And you're sure she was there?
What? Why? You think I made her up?
You yourself said your DNI systems were malfunctioning.
What? You gonna tell me I'm crazy next? I know what I saw. I did not make her up. I didn't fucking imagine her.
Did she have a name?
Of course she had a fucking name. The Guardian. We prepped to breach, but it turns out our enemies planned ahead. The explosion blocked our path. We had to double back. It caught us off guard. But the noise also caught the undead's attention. We regrouped with our allies. That's Egyptian Army Lieutenant Ziad Khalil, friend of ours. He was durable, seasoned. He defended his home through undead wars. He wouldn't go down without a fight.
What was the plan?
Khalil would move on control from the exterior. I'd sweep the dead from the air. Our guardian angel accompanied me. She told me the answer to finding Taylor was on this refinery. Why she thought that. How she knew that. It was surreal. When Khalil took the control room, he found something on the security footage. Something we needed to see.
Taylor.
Like seeing a ghost. We just stumbled upon him. This wasn't just a Cotardus colony. This was Taylor's hideout. They were already evacuating Taylor. We locked down the facility, separating Taylor and his associate, Moretti.
Who did you go after?
It was too late for Taylor. The Cotardus put him on a VTOL. We go after Moretti. Command informed us the kill order was still active. Hendricks didn't like that, but it wasn't his call.
How did you feel about it?
5 years. 5 years after our fuck-up, and we could fix it. I'd gladly take it. Moretti was just below us. If we were gonna get him, we'd need to take a shortcut.
Shortcut?
A leap of faith.
Trust her. Find Taylor.
How was Hendricks coping with the change of plans?
He was upset. And why wouldn't he be? Command wanted our friends dead. He wanted to bring Moretti in alive.
But that wasn't all, was it?
No.
You cornered him. What did Moretti say?
He said that name, same as Diaz. Deimos. He said if I wanted answers, I had to find Damien Bishop, a man we both knew from a past mission. Bishop could help stop Deimos. But first, I had to kill him. He kept saying, this isn't me, this isn't me. He kept saying Deimos made him do it. So I granted his last request. I killed him as he asked. I did our job. It didn't sit with Hendricks.
Can you blame him for his outburst?
Hendricks was pissed because Moretti was our link to finding Taylor. A link I just severed and split open on a spike. We lost Taylor, but we had a lead. Moretti said Bishop could help us find Deimos, which meant he was our next stop.
This Bishop that Moretti mentioned.
Damien Bishop, the man who found the cure. A vaccination to make 6115 victims human again.
A cure? Did it work?
It should have. Something was blocking it. Bishop had this theory. He believed somewhere there was an undead brain. A single creature controlling them as a collective hive. He believed that it somehow blocked the cure. We met him in 2065 when he made the breakthrough. News traveled fast. It was a joint op with Taylor's team. With the dead crawling all over, we needed a distraction. Something to keep the flesh eaters occupied so we could grab Bishop. We weren't dead killers yet, so we had to be a little more creative. And lucky for us, there were plenty of NRC birds in the sky, and the NRC's dead system still worked. Laser cannons built to auto-target any hostile aircraft.
So you created the diversion.
And Taylor's team prepped extraction. Unfortunately, it seemed our cover wouldn't last as long as we hoped. The remaining NRC noticed the radio silence from air traffic control and had sent soldiers to investigate. Command set exfil for a satellite station off base. We reset the dead system to target one of the automated planes circling above. Turns out the undead have a thing for giant explosions, like moths drawn to a porch lamp. And all we had to do was turn on the lights. Unfortunately, we couldn't exactly control the landing. Hendricks alerted Taylor the bird was down and the diversion in play. We took out the NRC and moved. Bishop was being held underground in the security station across the tarmac. Hendricks ordered weapons down. The base was crawling with NRC soldiers and undead. No need to draw any more. We crossed the tarmac. The tunnel ahead led to the security station. Hendricks took out the guards. I hacked into the system to find Bishop.
Why were there NRC still at the base? It was being overrun.
They needed the cure. They kidnapped Bishop's whole team and would do whatever it took to get their hands on it. They'd torture these researchers till the dead broke down the door and ripped them all to shreds if it meant they could save their people. It wasn't personal. It was self-preservation. With the secret out about Bishop's discovery, he'd become the most wanted man in the world. The NRC were just the first to grab him. It was every country for itself. Why do you think we were there? The Winslow Accord wanted the same thing the NRC did.
You can't rationalize anything when you're put up against the wall.
Nothing about this was rational. It was instinctual, animalistic, survival. He had been escorted to an interrogation room. We had to hurry. Behind us was an undead army. Once one got a whiff, the others would come running. Hendricks told Bishop who we were and that we had to move, but Bishop refused to leave without the other researchers, his friends. Our instructions were specific. Bishop was our priority. We didn't like it, but Bishop refused to leave without them.
Sounds like you were taking an awful risk.
He said for the cure to work, he needed them. They weren't expendable. Technically, we were.
In a way, you and the NRC were not so different in what you wanted and how far you were willing to go.
Our method was different. Our reasoning was not. No one wants to sacrifice themselves to save the world. But you like to think if the moment came, you'd have it in you.
Who was inside the cell?
Lieutenant Zied Khalil, member of the Egyptian army. Back in '65, he was a guard assigned to Bishop's research station. This was how we met. Hendricks cut him down and notified Taylor we were freeing the other hostages. Taylor said we didn't have the time. The base was swarming with additional NRC forces. They weren't letting their prize go that easily. There was a tunnel full of hostile soldiers between us and our exit. A cargo elevator ahead was the only way to the surface. No telling how close the dead were behind us. The remaining NRC forces were waiting for us above. They weren't about to let their prized prisoner go. If it meant getting the cure and saving their families, they were willing to die for it. And they weren't the only ones. We'd never seen dead killers in action before. To us, it was a spectacle. To them, it was just another day in the life. Wait a minute.
Do not be deceived by his lies. Remember your past. Remember when you first met John Taylor. Remember the truth.
Wait, this is wrong. This can't be real. I told you I met Taylor in Zurich during the 2065 Catardist Uprising, after I became a dead killer. Here I am with Taylor. And my limbs haven't been replaced yet. I'm still human. Why did you tell me that the first time I met Taylor was Zurich?
Focus. You need to complete this memory. What was Taylor's plan?
Well, we were still on for exfil. But first, we had to blow the bridge. We followed Diaz. Both undead and NRC forces were converging on our position. Hall grabbed us after the hangar. She was to take us to Moretti, so we could blow the bridge. After the bridge, we were forced inside a comm center. Moretti took point. The rendezvous with Taylor was an APC garage just ahead. We could hear the undead screaming towards us. But that wasn't all. A robot horde was moving in. Taylor would need some time to get the door open.
you were forced into the garage. What happened there?
Hendricks wanted to go back and get the other hostages. Taylor said Bishop was priority. After all, he had the cure. The rest were just collateral.
What did Taylor do?
He volunteered to take his team to get the others. We were to take Khalil and Bishop to Exfil. We got on the APC. Bishop was the most important man in the world right now. We had to get him to Exfil if it killed us. Taylor said Bishop was priority. After all, he had the cure. The rest were just collateral.
What did Taylor do?
He volunteered to take his team to get the others. We were to take Khalil and Bishop to Exfil. We got on the APC. Bishop was the most important man in the world right now. We had to get him to Exfil if it killed us. We got on the APC. Bishop was the most important man in the world right now. We had to get him to Exfil if it killed us.